All right, we are in Parashat Yitro, Jethro. Very, very classy parasha. You know, you like so many things. You can make a movie out of that. I'm thinking to make a couple of movies out of this thing. Very big production and so on and so forth. But you know, we do things a little different here, and we're going to talk today about other stuff besides just the, big event that happened there. If you look at this parasha very closely, this whole ordeal of Har Sinai and receiving the mitzvot is a little bizarre. I mean, if you just pay attention, of course, and the way to pay attention is to forget about the production and see exactly what's going on. And first of all, it's strange because first of all, what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Moshe, what God is telling Moses before Matan Torah, I cannot find any word other than weird. God is referring to Moshe, and he gives him a very short message. And he says to him, like teeny little incy-bincy message that he should give to the Jewish people. And it says the following, Atem reitem et kol asher asiti lemitzrayim. You were witness to everything that I did to Egypt. Va'esa etchem al kanfei nesharim. And I took you on eagle's wings. And that's about it. There's no description of the 10 plagues. There's no description of the enslavement and the redemption and not the splitting of the Red Sea. All that happened is about a month and a half beforehand. There's nothing, no mention of this whatsoever. And if you also and another really bizarre thing that's happening there is the way that the Am Yisrael is receiving upon himself, accepting upon himself the mitzvot, this very weird concept of Naaseh v'nishma. We'll do it and then we'll tell us about it. Is it because they were forced to receive the Torah? They will have to receive the Torah? And if that's the case, why was God so rejoicing on their attitude? Naaseh v'nishma, wow. So much that according to our sages, they were able to elevate themselves by this statement to the level of Adam HaRishon before the sin. That sounds to me like robots or like kind of a brainwashing or some kind of a cult. We'll do it. Don't tell it. We'll do it. We don't want to hear. That's very bizarre. Then it says also, so let's look a little bit at the production. We got to look at the production a little bit. The pasuk says the following: Vayihi bayom hashlishi beheyot haboker. On the third day, because they were standing there for 3 days, right before dawn, Vayi kolot uvrakim. There were noises and there were lightnings and lights. Ve'anan kaveda al ha'ar, and a very thick cloud hovered over the mountain. Ve'kol shofar chazak meod, and a sound of a shofar, of a horn, that was extremely loud. Vayecherad kol ha'am asher b'machaneh, and all the people in the camp were petrified. Vayotzi Moshe et ha'am likrat ha'elohim min ha'machaneh, and he took him from the camp. Guys, come on, everybody, leave your tents. Come on, let's go. Vayityatzvu betachtit ha'ar, and they were standing in attention. Right? I can see like Moshe saying, "Ten, hot, everybody." They stand like this, straight. Lityatzev means they were not just standing there. No, come on, what's going on here? They were standing in attention. Yatziv, nitzav, is standing straight up in full attention. It's strange.
Fear?
I don't know. Let's see. Har Sinai Ashen Kulo, and the whole entire mountain is fuming. Mipnei Asher Yarad Alav Hashem Ba'esh, because God has descended on the mountain with fire. Vayal Ashno Ke'ashan HaKivshan, and his smoke that came as a result came up like the fire from a furnace. Vayecharad kol ha'ar me'or, and the whole entire mountain was shaking, was trembling. Ve'ikol ha'shofar holech ve'chazak me'od, and the shofar, usually when you blow, it goes down, right? This was going on and becoming louder and louder and louder. Moshe yedaber, Moshe spoke, Va'elohim ya'anenu b'kol, and God answered him with a voice. That standing in attention of Am Yisrael to the foothills of Har Sinai for the mountain looks in a way, thank you, looks in a way, I think there is maybe also over there some medicine. Looks in a way maybe like some kind of a technical thing to receive the Torah. I mean, okay, God is standing, so you receive the Torah, you just stand there and wait for it to get me, right? It looks like it. I mean, otherwise, why they were standing there? But the Rav Shimshon Hirsch, said, notice that something is weird here. And he's referring to this attention that they were standing here. Li'tiatzev is also to be called upon. In other words, I'm here, I'm standing here, I'm ready. And he refers to it in the connection of the psukim, in which the description of this reality, that's basically the reality has been shaken, and the whole thing is like, about to erupt. I mean, a mountain moving and all kind of weird stuff like this because of the awesomeness of God. And he writes the following: Ha'am ra'ah, the people saw it, ve'ineh kol hateva mizda'azeh. The whole creation, whole nature was trembling. For God to come down, everything was trembling. Mountains crumbled to the sea, as they say, right? Everything was shaking. Nature was not like we have, and only him, mankind, was standing straight, standing in full attention in front of Hashem. It says, "Vayityatzvu nochach pnei Hashem Adon haolamim," and they stand erected, straight, ready in front of God. Now that takes a lot of understanding to see exactly what's going on here. I mean, I don't know if I would be able to do that, but
was it just the Jews that were standing?
yes. Just the Jews were standing there.
Why standing?
Because if somebody gives you something, let's say for example, I give you an award, right? You're gonna come there and then you get the award, or you did some kind of a medal. You're going to the president. You're not going to be sitting down and let the president hand you the medal. You're going to stand up. So, and how did they stand? B'komas kufa, standing straight up. Now there are noises and lightnings and shofar that is going on stronger and stronger. The whole mountain is moving and shaking and steaming, and Am Yisrael is standing there. Nochach pnei Hashem, right? B'komas kufa. What does it mean? Why is it so strange? Is this because HaKadosh Baruch Hu forced us to do so? So Rav Hirsch continues, and he says something amazing. Pay attention, Rabotai. In a way, it has to do with what we were talking about last night. He says, Ha'am lamad lada'at. The nation, the Am Yisrael, learned a tremendous lesson at that point. Ki b'sha'a she'adam nichnas la'avodat Hashem, when a person says, I'm going to do avodat Hashem, I'm going to keep Torah mitzvot, b'mlo da'ato v'hakarato, with your full intent and acknowledgement. Hareu mit'ale lemala, you being elevated now to a higher and higher level. Nisgava she'en domela ba'olam. There's nothing to match that in the whole entire universe. The state of a person when he decides to keep upon himself Torah or mitzvot. Now you might understand the statement that Chazal tells us, "B'makom sheba'alei tshuva omdim tzadikim gmurim enam omdim," because the Baal Tshuva or Ger Tzedek, when he says, "I'm willing to accept upon myself God's word," he's being elevated to such level that he's the only thing in creation that can stay straight in front of God. Everything else will tremble and fall apart. The attitude that we need to have, but the Rav here says, "Bemlo da'ato vehakarato," with your full mind and your full awareness, with your full intent, not like saying, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to keep Shabbat, twice a week. That's it. More than that, or twice a month. More than that, enough for me." Full commitment. And that's why when a ger goes to the mikveh, he says, "Ani mekabel alai kol mili deoraita ve'mili derabanan ve'chol minhag." I'm taking upon myself everything, midoraita, miderabanan, even if it's a minhag, I'm taking upon myself. The Kabbalah of a ger, we learn the converts, the process that the converts takes from the process that Am Yisrael was standing in front of Har Sinai. It has to be a full acceptance. If the Ger Tzedek says, "You know what? I'll keep everything besides muktzeh." Bye, honey. And enough for us. It has to be Kabbalah Meleah. That's what Am Yisrael at that point had elevated himself to such a level. In other words, they did it with a perfect attitude. And Ma'amado lifnei Hashem, right? And his statement, the way he stands in front of Hashem, is a closeness that there's no other like it. In other words, an unconditional closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is willing to accept you unconditionally. In other words, when a person makes tshuva meleah, he does a full teshuvah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says it's unconditional. That's why they say if a person does tshuva mi'ahava, and we're going to get to this love business later, when a person does tshuva mi'ahava, even zdonot, even things that he did on purpose, becomes to him for zchuyot, becomes a merit to him. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is now willing to look at anything. You were willing to accept me unconditionally in your life. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I therefore will accept you unconditionally in as well. It's an unbelievable thing. That's why when people tell you hear it many times, I love you very much, but when you say the word but, means you don't really mean it. There's no such thing. I love you very much, but I respect you a lot, but better off you didn't say it. There's no such thing as but. Either yes or no. Now, and this unconditional closeness of that a person is able to reach heaven and earth and the whole entire universe are standing behind him with trembling when he is able to stand in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu straight up in tenhat, in like full attention. And I mean, just think about it. Everything in nature is trembling. Oceans, trees, everything. And you are just standing there. It's almost like this science fiction movie when you're standing there and the whole thing is moving. You just stand there. Everything is moving, trembling. It's just an unbelievable ordeal. Mountains could be dancing. Air is full of noise. I mean, right now there's silence, right? But imagine there's like unconditional noise, almost like in the Obama movies that they made. I forgot that I don't know, whatever. It's like a movie thing he made lately. All of a sudden there was noise that filling their ears. They couldn't take it, but you're standing there. That noise doesn't bother you. In other words, when you're accepting HaKadosh Baruch Hu unconditionally in your life, nothing should bother you. Nothing should bother you. You should be completely committed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not to this one or not to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, completely. Throw your hands into HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That was something that Avraham Avinu was willing to do. When they threw them into the kivshan, into the fire, and he wasn't burning, that was because he had the complete emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The same thing as Hananiah, Mishael, and so on. Complete emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Do we have it? And if not, why not? What's stopping us?
So they had it then?
Excuse me?
They were at the same level as Avraham Avinu?
Who? Am Israel?
Yeah.
A higher level than that. Higher level than that. So what I want to tell you is, I thought you were going to ask me, so can we do it? Of course we can do it. You need to just want to do it. You need to choose. Now, to only then when imagine there's so much noise. There's so much noise, like this unbelievable, unbearable noise because everything in nature is moving, and yet Am Yisrael is able to hear Moshe Rabbeinu speaking as God is talking to him. I mean, it's almost like a psychedelic, dream or something. This is like, it's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. And that is the level that mankind, if they want, could really achieve an unconditional closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. By doing so, you are able, if you are unconditionally accepting HaKadosh Baruch Hu into your life, you'll be able to quiet down all the noise around you, all the cacophony around you, the chatter around you, and only hear what God wants you to do. The world today is trying to create such an overwhelming noise for one reason and one reason only, so we would lose track. It's like if I'm going to apply unbelievable noise at you, you won't be able to think, almost like a psychological warfare. If I'm going to play, I don't know, some kind of like heavy metal, morning to night, you're going to go crazy. However, if you're able to really quiet the noise down and only hear that, you'll be able to make it. You won't go nuts. As soon as you let go, you're overwhelmed. That's what society, that's what the world outside is trying to do us. With all those TikToks and the schmickmocks and all the other garbage that is out there. To hear all the noises besides the noise of God. That's why it's good to go to nature. You don't hear all this craziness. But then when you go to nature, you hear all the voices that were in you all the time, coming out. So my suggestion to you, first of all, turn off all these things. Stop listening to the news. Stop listening to all these things. If you throw completely yourself in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't worry about it. You'll know exactly what to do. You'll be safe from everything. And you need to understand that. But that level, or reaching this level, is dependent on entering yourself into the gates of God. In what we call Avodat Hashem, becoming God's worker, into the realm of God. And when you enter, one needs to enter, Chazal always tell us, fix yourself in the hallway before you enter the main room. Or fix yourself in the corridor before you enter the grand hall. In other words, what's your attitude? You can't come in to Avodat Hashem, you can't elevate yourself if you have an attitude. You can't. You can't. It's impossible. So, one of the reasons that it's difficult to us, it was also noticed by Baal HaAkedah. Who was Baal HaAkedah? That's right. Kol HaKavod. He explains, because he explains something which is so fantastic. He says, people many times are uncomfortable to hear the fact that somebody did anything good for them. People always like, where are my glasses? People always like to have somebody to do favors to them, but they don't want to remind them that somebody did a favor to them. Now remember what we talked about at the beginning, why it was weird, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Moshe. So he noticed that. People don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear that I did you a favor. Or that somebody did you a favor, to that matter. Why? Because that brings them to a place that now they're obligated. Mm-hmm. In other words, I'm in the IOU category. And since I'm in the IOU, please, I don't want to hear it.
They're very defensive.
Extremely defensive. So, and because of that, it puts them in a very uncomfortable situation towards the entity that gives it to them or help them. And by the way, in Hebrew, there's an expression that is called asir todah. Asir todah means grateful, extremely grateful. And I think not for one that they call it grateful dead. Because if you reach a certain level of gratefulness, you feel like you are dead because you're always obligated to this person. Asir todah means I feel like a prisoner. Because I owe him such thank you, I'm a prisoner. So therefore, one thing for me to do is to break away from him. One thing for me to do is to say, you know what, I'm going to find a reason why I don't know him, because it's not so good. So let's say, for example, argument's sake, let's say Zalman did me a great favor. But I don't want to owe Zalman. So what I'm going to do, somewhere I'm going to find something that Zalman did it for himself. He's selfish. He didn't really want to help me. He wanted to help himself. And so on and so forth. Then I'm going to talk to Sam, I'm going to talk to Shmaya, I'm going to talk to Eitan, and so on and so forth. Talk to all you, how bad Zalman is, how hypocrite Zalman is. The one who's hypocrite is me and I am. We do so to people, we do so for God. Without a doubt. Now, because of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give us the mitzvot. He wanted to give our Israel the mitzvot. So how is he going to do that, right? That it would come from a place of love, that it will come from a place of abundance and just endless giving. Not from a place that they would feel that they are obligated, the place that it's imprisoned them, that they were forced to do that. That's why when he talks about Yetziat Mitzrayim, he only hints that. He doesn't say, I took them, I gave them dam, tzfardea, kinim. That's for us to remember, not for him to mention us. Why is that? Because, which is really reminds, if a person comes to you and says, I did this for you, and 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 so on and so forth, people don't want to hear all the time how much you did for them and how smart, even compliments. If you tell somebody, you're smart. I mean, you see it many times when you have rabbinical meetings, right? You can have two rabbis who don't really like each other. But one rabbi chirps the other one. He says, Harav HaGadol, HaPatish HaChazak, Talmidenu HaChacham, HaAhuv. Now the other rabbi comes and says they have to give him more compliments. and it's like so bizarre, because we know they don't really like each other, but they give each other compliments like this all the time, right? Because now they are imprisoned in the game. So people don't like to hear that. And later on you kind of, if you forget, you feel small, right? If you don't do it or you don't say it, you're feeling kind of making the other person small, or you're feeling yourself becoming small. If a person says, I did this for you, you will feel small. That's the resentment that people have. And which is a very slippery slope all the way down. So sometimes you need to remind people good experiences or good things that happen in order to really root the foundation of the relationship, and how that had happened many times, and what they talk about glory days. What do I mean by glory days? Just the famous Bruce Springsteen song, right? So let's say, for example, let's say Eitan. So I say, Eitan, do you remember one time we was sitting over there in Texas, we had doing the fire pit in Texas and smoking cigars, and remember the whiskey? It was good whiskey I brought you, right? So when we reminiscing somewhat on the past and reminding each other, and Eitan will say, oh yes, but how did you like the cigars that I got for you? And I said, oh, that was great. So by saying that, we kind of enhancing the relationship that we have. In other words, even good relationship needs to be enhancement all the time. That's why it's very important to also, when you're married, to maintain this relationship with your wife. One of the things that helps Jewish couples to maintain that relationship is the avoidance that they have during the time of Nida. All of a sudden, you're not accessible for each other for 2 weeks. And that's what we say, when a woman comes back from the mikvah, right, the husband desires her as much as he desires her, hopefully, as much as he desires her at the time of the wedding, the first time that, under the chuppah. because she was not available for you. And I remember, why did I marry this woman? Oh, he's a yofi, he's a yofi, he's a yofi. It was such wonderful. And that relationship needs to be maintained. And it's good to, remember when we went to, whatever we went to, or the trip that we took to Glacier Park, or the RV trip that we did to Fairbanks, or we went on the Delta. Oh, yeah, that thing. And remember the food that I made for you there? All these things make the relationship stronger. It's good to remind each other sometimes of the good things that we did to each other, but don't get under the other person's skin. Now, sometimes, by the way, even if you don't get into another person's skin, you did so much for them, so they would resent you. At the end, they're going to resent you. It's a very, very dangerous, fine line to walk. It's thinner than a spider's web. A thread of the spider's web, because in one hand you learn to give, you want to give, but then at a certain point those people are not able to receive because they are in darkness themselves. Their kli is not appropriate to receive all this giving. So since they are in darkness, they're going to reject you, and they're going to therefore do the opposite. They're going to reject you, and then they're going to resent you because they don't want to acknowledge that all that they got is because of you. And that's true to employees, that's true to husband and wife, that's true to friends, that's true to Rebbe and Talmidim, that's true to any interaction of two human beings together. Always. That's why when you have a relationship, when you married or about to get married, make sure that it's a relationship, that it's a two-way street. The one side gives and the other side gives, and so on and so forth. If one side always will be the one that's giving, at the end you're going to rebel against it. And not that the other side is doing something bad. It's simply because your kli is not. Sometimes people will give you so much they will choke you. You need to also move back a little bit. But most of the time it's because your kli was not ready. You are in darkness. Your kli cannot receive all this goodness that comes with the light of giving. And it's important to give. It's important to give so you can receive. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. You give, you receive. You give, you receive. Call it the Jewish yin yang. I don't know what you call it. Call it Al for all I care. But this is all what it is. Lilmod al menat lelamed. Always moving for one time you give, one time you receive. One time you give, one time you receive. Nature is like this. If you look at the ocean, the waves, they come and they go. They come and they go. They come and if the ocean is only calm, you're going to have tsunami. That's what happens with tsunami. Martial arts is the same thing. You don't have one movement, forward. You have in, out, and so on and so forth. Everything is like that. Talking about martial arts, this is going to be also the refuah shlema of Chaim Israel Halevi ben Batya and Mazal bat Leah, ulehavdil, le'ilui nishmat. Hold on one second. Le'ilui nishmat. Freya bat Sarah v'Chana Belor bat Sarah, the two sisters who just niftar this week, unfortunately. So, when you have this reminders to enhance this relationship, right? So for sure it's legitimate to do it because you're doing it for the purpose of enhancing their relationship. So here, Kadosh Baruch Hu is doing the same thing to us. That vessel, right, that of understanding that, is the vessel that really helps us, which is really being humble. If that humbleness would able to do so, would give you a more open dialogue. You're able to talk to people. If you are not humble, I'll tell you what, if you're not humble, you're not going to be willing to receive also. So a person that rejects and resents is also a very arrogant person. He's not humble, he's arrogant. He is even narcissist at a certain point. When you do that and you start with humbleness and then you able to enhance, everything becomes more out in the open. Everything is clear. There's no hidden agendas. Everything is right there. You could therefore give more and donate and give and support more and more and more. And this is how things become better. Now, whether it's a society or whether it's your wife or whether it's yeshiva or whether it's a shul. But you have to be humble. Now, you have to understand it's not always people, and especially Israelis. They have a tendency to say what they want. Everybody, and by the way, everybody thinks they're like in a major therapy the rest of their lives. Therapy all the time. I have to say what I feel, and then some people take a lot of pride of I spoke my mind up. They don't. That's for imbeciles. Because it's not only what you say. It's also how you say it. You could bring people closer, and you could push it away, and it all depends on that intuition. And you could really take, even when it comes to negotiation, you're about to close a deal, right? Because any kind of give and take is basically a negotiation. We're talking. So. I mean, if you just take this into yourself and don't feel that you are so special and entitled, you'll be able to communicate and negotiate much better. Now, the more that you don't show and wave, I did this for you, I did that for you, I did this for you, even if you're hinting, I did this for you, and so on and so forth, the more it will be. The deal will be able to, as they say, you'll be able to nail the deal. You'll be able to get your point across what I'm trying to say. So, that brings me to the point, and another pasuk that it says, a very interesting pasuk that it says, and of course, receiving and kiyuma mitzvot, establishing the mitzvot, that depends on the pasuk that says to le'ohavei torati v'shomrei mitzvotai, which seems a little bizarre. What does it mean? Le'ohavei torati v'shomrei mitzvot. Those who love my Torah and those who keep the mitzvot, aren't they the same thing? No, they're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. There are people who could be shomer Torah mitzvot, but the attitude is not there. They not do so me'ahava. Le'ohavei torati. Those who love, and that's the issue of love. Love is when there is this negotiation, not that you just feel I love him or I love her kind of a thing. That's a very selfish thing. Love comes through negotiation, through giving. So I give to you and you give to me and so on and so forth. An unconditional seekness to come closer and closer and closer. Le'ohavei torati, those who seek my closeness, who really unconditionally willing to commit themselves to me. Shomrei mitzvotai could be the people who shomer the mitzvot. They're keeping shomer Torah and mitzvot for a whole array of reasons, because they don't want the neighbors to say, because they want the children to get married, because they don't want to go to hell, because and so on and so forth. As far as I'm concerned, there's no hell. There's no heaven. And I'm going to tell you why. I mean, in an idea. Because, and that's maybe why HaKadosh Baruch Hu says the Gan Eden is here. Gan Eden is really, if we say the greatest pleasure of the neshama after we go up, our soul, after we go up to the heavens, is the closeness that you were able to reach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the greatest pleasure out there. That's Gan Eden. Because in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden, we were with God all the time, all around us. So the more you draw this tension in this world, seek closeness in this world, the further your arrow will be able to go up and you seek closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's only could be done through love. That could not be done for any other ulterior motive. And when there is that humbleness and selflessness in your interaction with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with God, then you could be called Yirei Shamayim. Then you are called Ohev Hashem. Shomrei mitzvotai is the people who have or do the mitzvot, but for any other reason. Le'ohavei torati u'leshomrei mitzvotai. Which is a very big lesson. In other words, it all depends on your attitude. Why are you doing what you're doing? As I said here to you yesterday, even in and especially, should I say, in Avodat Hashem, a person should strive to excellence, to do that as best as he can, above and beyond. Like, for example, let's say it's your wife's birthday, right? You could go in and buy her a beautiful rose. I mean, a rose is a beautiful creation. It's a beautiful thing. And she said to you, do me a favor, don't buy me anything. Don't buy me anything. I don't want anything. And he says, I know. But I'm going to go buy you, 50 roses, like top grade, above and beyond. Because you really love her and you really appreciate her. That's your attitude. Okay? She doesn't need it. And you're willing to spend this $50 and you're gonna eat, sardines all week long just to save money on lunch, money that you would spend on lunch, you save to buy roses to your wife. That's the attitude. Not to look for shortcuts. Oh, okay, honey, I'll buy you a rose, Happy birthday to you. That's like a loophole. I made a check. Now, when you come to understand that, now you understand what's the purpose of a chumrah. It's a chumrah is not if you have the attitude that, you know what, I'm afraid to go to hell, so therefore I'll do the chumrah, so therefore that's why the chumrah, the stringency becomes of a choking factor to you. When you receive the chumrah on the contrary, as an obstacle to get, as a tool to get closer to God, not as an obstacle to your pleasures, well, then you elevate yourself. It's an act of love. And therefore it's not a problem. But those people who keep Shabbat 25 minutes after sunset in America in the summer, they already keep Shabbat, they're already shishlicking and driving around, right? Well, where's your attitude? Where's your attitude? If I would be your worker, God forbid, if I was your worker, and it says, excuse me, I need to work here, what time? 9 to 5, not a problem. 9 o'clock I'm here, 5 o'clock I'm out of the door. You will come and tell me, listen, one time, just stay 10 minutes longer. What's the big deal? I mean, I pay you on time. Stay. No, my job is 9 to 5, 9 to 5. That's it. But if he comes at 8:30 and leaves at 5:30 and doesn't say, boss, I stay there. Can you give me a raise? He doesn't. He doesn't because there's work to do. It needs to be done. I need to come in and do it. When it comes to fire people, he'll be the last one to go. I'll be the first one to leave. Because it's your attitude. Do you really seek closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your life, or are you just full of it? Are you paying lip service? Are you a chicken? You're afraid to do it? And if it's important to you, do it. And that attitude would linger throughout your life in everything you do. Don't think that you'll have an attitude with God, but with your wife it's going to be okay, because you're going to get a wife that have an attitude towards you as well. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu will match you, your pair. You have an attitude, she'll have an attitude. That's the way it works. She's your mirror image. And that learning, it's so fundamental on the levels in which we could reach through the entrance to the gate of what we call Avodat Hashem, worshiping God. Am Yisrael learns when they're standing at the bottom of the heart, or the bottom of the mountain, and really prepare themselves to receive the Torah. So when the Torah tells us that the commandment of Ani Hashem Elokecha, I am God, the first commandment, I am God, Ani Hashem Elokecha, or as the Rambam says, Leha'amin sheyesh Eloah, to believe that there is God, to believe that there is God. Maybe it's more than just the word, because we always interpret the word emunah with belief. I'm going to tell you that maybe something completely different now. Something completely different. Because a person could say that he believes in God, but the mitzvot, as they say, not for me, I'm not there yet. I believe that there is a God. But listen, I like to go on Shabbat to the beach to have some, shrimps on the barbie or whatever it is that I'm having. I believe that there is God. The mitzvot are not for me. But That's why maybe we should explain to understand what really emunah is to create a system of emun. Emun means trust, of trust. And trust in who? Trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like a couple that are lovers, that they love each other. It's a matter of trust. I trust her and she trusts me. It's not I believe in her and she believes in me. I trust her and she trusts me. And this is maybe when we said that the event of Matan Torah was the wedding night of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kudsha Brichu with Am Yisrael. Not only keeping mitzvot, Rabotai. Keeping mitzvot is good. But keeping mitzvot from what we call trust, which I'm going to put you, only can come when you love someone, when you feel one with someone. Do you feel one with Hashem? Do you feel that Hashem is choking you? You feel that Torah is choking you? Do you feel that being a Jew is a prison? Keeping Shabbat is a burden? Cleaning for Pesach is a hassle? If yes, I think you got a problem. If not, you should know that you're higher than the angels. Shabbat Shalom.